Alright, so you're a student. You're either a high school student, a middle school student, a university student, or a graduate student. And you're thinking of purchasing either a MacBook or an iPad for your upcoming year, and you're not exactly sure what to do. And so I ran a poll on Instagram trying to figure out how many people use Macs over iPads and how many people use iPads over Macs. And I was surprised to see that 3/4 of the people that actually answered said that they prefer MacBooks over iPads. So that begs the question, why does the iPad get so much more hype than the Mac, and which one should you buy? So what's going on, guys? My name is Mikey and I'm a university student here in Canada. And if you guys haven't noticed, the iPad has been gaining a lot of popularity over the past couple of years. If I did this poll maybe 3 years ago, the numbers would have definitely been different. It probably would have been 90% of people that chose MacBooks versus 10% of people that chose iPads. And the main reason for this is the Apple Pencil. The Apple Pencil is literally a note-taking machine. It combines everything of regular note-taking into this small iPad, and it also just makes using the iPad way more fun. Now in this video, we're not going to be focusing on the specifications of the Mac versus the iPad. There's plenty of videos like that on YouTube already. We're going to be talking about affordability, which one's more efficient, which one's more productive, which one's better for note-taking, which one is better in general. That is essentially the focus of this video. Now we're gonna be talking about 5 things in this video. The first thing is actually the conclusion. I'm gonna give you guys a straight and upfront answer because I know a lot of you guys are busy nowadays and you clicked on this video to hear one thing and one thing only, whether the Mac or the iPad is better and which one you should purchase. The second thing we're gonna be talking about is efficiency and portability. This third thing we're gonna be talking about is note-taking. The fourth thing is studying. And finally, the last thing is actually assignments. Now, like I promised, we're gonna talk about the conclusion. So the MacBook Pro is definitely better when it comes to assignments, anything that has to do with typing, anything that has to do with making presentations. If you have a paper you have to do or a lab report, I would recommend going with the MacBook Pro. Like this would apply if you're going into a sciences program, if you're going into, I would say, kinesiology, into psychology. A lot of things like this, you would need a Mac over an iPad because you're gonna be doing a lot of typing for assignments and for papers. However, if you're on the other hand, like you're going into architecture, anything creative like engineering, anything like that, then I would recommend actually going with the iPad because you are going to be using the Apple Pencil a lot. So first, I would recommend to figure out what exactly you are going to be using it for and then decide on whether the Mac or the iPad is better for you. And now if that was the only reason why you clicked on this video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, but we're going to continue on talking about efficiency and portability. Now with efficiency and portability, my vote goes to the MacBook Pro. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes, like I was saying earlier, you're writing lab reports or you're writing a paper or an assignment, and sometimes you have to have multiple tabs open. I'm sure you guys know already, I'm a tab hoarder, so I usually have a lot of tabs open at the same time because I try to get a lot of work done. So sometimes I like having 4 different windows. And with the iPad, you can't exactly do that. Now with the iPad, the amount of different tabs, different windows that you could have with it is only 2. So that makes it way less efficient. So here I have my Notion set up for this video. This is kind of like my script for it. I can basically only have 2 things open. Yes, I can resize them and make one bigger than the other, but that does not compare to what the Mac can do, and you could have basically limitless. I mean, depending on how much you could see, you could have even 8, 15, 16. I know most people will have 2 or 4, but theoretically you could have as many as you want. And that's why I personally think the Mac will take this vote, because if you do want to get a lot of work done in as little time as possible, then you should go with a MacBook Pro. Now let's talk about note-taking. Now there's essentially 2 different ways that people take notes. Either they write everything down by hand with all their cool highlighters, with their cool pens, or they just write it with a regular lead pencil like I used to do, or they type it up, right? Now there's actually a study done by Pam et al, and this whole study basically focused on whether writing things out by hand or by typing things was better, and that would help in your retention. They wanted to figure out which one would actually help you perform better on your exams. And they basically found that, well actually I'll pull out the quote. The exact quote is, "We show that whereas taking more notes can be beneficial, laughter's note takers' tendency to transcribe lectures verbatim rather than processing information and reframing it in their own words is detrimental to learning." Now basically what they showed is that people's tendency to take notes on their laptop and write things verbatim. So basically you hear what the professor is saying and you basically write it word for word. That is natural. That's something that most typers will usually do. And that's why I would say I would give my vote to the iPad Air or the iPad Pro, because taking notes by hand, just like in a notebook, is always better and is gonna help you do better on your exams than typing your notes up. Now let's talk about studying and which one is actually better to study with. Now there's various different study methods out there like active recall, spaced repetition, using regular flashcards, rereading stuff, highlighting, retaking your notes, mnemonics, elaborative interrogation. There's basically a variety of different study methods out there. Personally, I found that the best study methods are active recall and spaced repetition. I have a couple of videos talking about those in the past that you can find link above right here. Basically, active recall is when you try to recall something from your own memory, and spaced repetition is when you do that over a long period of time to keep it in your long-term memory so you basically don't forget it. Now there's actually a study that measured which study methods are used most common between students. We'll take these 4 top study methods and then we'll figure out if you can do that on the iPad better or on the MacBook Pro better. And the top 4 methods are rereading, doing practice problems, flashcards, and rewriting notes. Now with rereading, although I don't agree with it, and to be honest, I think it is very ineffective, you could definitely do that on the iPad and on the MacBook Pro. So that is both beneficial to the iPad and the MacBook. So we'll say that they're equal in this specific study method. The second one, doing practice problems. Now on the iPad, doing practice problems are actually way better than on the MacBook because it is very hard to answer calculus problems, any other calculation, anything that you have to write by hand. It is very hard to do that on the MacBook Pro. So the winning one will go to the iPad for this one. Rewriting your notes. Now rewriting your notes, it is definitely better to rewrite your notes like we found in Pem et al. Study, that it's better to rewrite them when you're doing it by hand. So although you can rewrite your notes on the MacBook, I would actually give this one to the iPad. So right now the iPad has 2 and the MacBook has 1. And now the final one is flashcards. Now which one would it be better to make flashcards on? Personally, I like making my flashcards on my MacBook because it is way quicker. This comes all the way back to my original point, where the MacBook Pro is way more efficient than the iPad Pro. So personally, I think 90% of the assignments that you end up doing have to be done on a computer, or at least if they're done on a computer, they're gonna be done much quicker. Let's say you have a lab report. That is obviously better to do on a computer because you could have way more things open. Same thing with an essay, same thing with a paper, same thing with even editing a video. So like me personally, when editing a video, using an iPad wouldn't be efficient. And let's say you're in a creative major like arts or graphic design, doing all that stuff on a computer is way more valuable than doing it on the iPad, just because the iPad doesn't have specific apps that you would use on a computer, and if they do, they aren't as efficient. They don't work as well. Now with assignments, it's a bit tricky because personally, I like doing my assignments more on the iPad. I feel like it's more fun. I don't know how you guys feel if you have an iPad, but anytime I do anything on the iPad, I feel like I'm kind of enjoying my time more than when I'm on the MacBook. Like when I have an assignment for organic chemistry, when I did have assignments, I finished that course already like a year ago. I was pretty I was pretty happy to work on it on my iPad because it was just fun to use the Apple Pencil, use the screen, use the paper like screen protector that I use. I enjoyed it a lot, and that's why it's kind of tough to give this one to the MacBook Pro. But at the end of the day, I would say I would give it to the MacBook Pro because you can get more work done doing assignments on your computer. Yes, the iPad Pro was beneficial when it came to practice problems and assignments that have to do with writing, but most, maybe 80% of the assignments have to do with typing or with a computer. Graphic design, architecture, engineering, a lot of that stuff has to be done on specific operating softwares that are not available on the iPad yet, which sucks. However, I do think in the upcoming years, companies that make these softwares that are used in school will start implementing it on the iPad and will allow it to work even better on the iPad, just as good as they work on the computer. Same thing with lab reports and any papers or essays you have to write. Typing all this stuff up on a computer, although you can get the magic keyboard and yes, like it'll work, you could type everything up here, having multiple tabs open, multiple links open at the same time is very hard to do on the iPad, and it is very easy to do on the MacBook Pro, and that's why personally I would say I would give this one to the MacBook Pro. However, this is a big however, right? If you are in a program that you don't have a lot of assignments for, go with the iPad Pro. It is a way better option, it is a way cheaper option, and then you can get the Mac later on, or if you already have a computer, then I would say go with the iPad. Now this begs the million-dollar question, which one is better? And that's like I said earlier, the Mac is better when it comes to assignments and when it comes to typing tasks. However, if you're using it strictly for note-taking for school and you already have your own laptop or you already have an own Mac and you're not sure if you should buy it or not, I would recommend going with iPad because I honestly don't know how I lived my life in school before the iPad. I was literally getting a lot of work done way slower, and with the iPad it just made things way quicker. And that basically concludes our video. I hope this was informative to you guys, because I know I was looking for videos like these when I wanted an iPad and I wasn't sure what to do. If you did enjoy it, like and comment and subscribe down below. Don't forget to do all three. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care and take it easy.